one of the things that South Africans may not know, as we are all envious of what's happening in Namibia, is that Namibia's discoveries are in what we call the Orange Basin. That same oil and gas rock that is sparing Namibia's economy on, that's making Namibia the envy of the world. What South Africans may not know is that 60% of it is actually on the South African side. To this day, my son says those were the best days of his life. So we think that mothering is staying home, cooking and doing that, but it's actually maybe our sons watching us do these projects. And maybe when we do these projects, we're not absent from mothering, you know, maybe we are present.
Because I mean, the reality is you've rose in a sector that's overwhelmingly male dominated. Like, I think I still get shocked at conferences sometimes. I mean, we're at AF and I'm like, how are there so many guys? Like, how?
I never did a PhD so that I could do biofuels. Never.
Welcome back to Energy Conversations. This season, we've been tracing how South Africa's energy system works, the policy, the market, the money. But today is about the people. How does someone actually build a career in this sector? Not the LinkedIn version, but the real one. The turns, the doubts, the doors. And my guest today has crossed nearly every corner of the energy world, from a chemistry laboratory to being an executive at one of Africa's leading development finance institutions. She is the Group Executive for Programs at the Development Bank of Southern Africa, Dr. Phindile Masangane. Welcome to Energy Conversations.
Thank you, Thokozile. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start long before the titles, right? So yes. Take us back to the beginning. Where does your story start? And what were you like as a young person, and what were you drawn to?
As a young person, I was drawn to the sciences. Mathematics came very, very natural to me. I had no way of knowing what it means and what are the career options for a scientist. So all I know, Thokozile, is that I needed to solve as many mathematical equations as I could, and I really, really enjoyed doing and participating in anything mathematics and the sciences after that, but it was mainly mathematics that drew me as a young person.
Okay, so as you say, I mean, you studied mathematics. I mean, I don't know who studies mathematics. Like some of us, 1 + 1 was challenging at times. But you studied mathematics and chemistry, and you took chemistry all the way to a PhD level. What was the plan? What was the thinking around becoming a doctor in chemistry?
For me, my love was mathematics. My first love was mathematics, but so chemistry, I had to do it because I needed another major subject. And when I finished at the university and I had the degree, I had to ask different people, you know, what I can do with my career. I had finished top in my class in terms of both subjects, and the guidance that I received, which made sense at the time, was mathematics comes naturally to you, but we think there are more opportunities in chemistry. So I pursued chemistry just to make sure that at least I open up a number of job opportunities for myself. But otherwise, naturally, my gift and my heart was in mathematics. So just be careful, because after some time I might do another PhD in mathematics to see how far that mathematics could have gone. So yeah, Thokozile. So I did chemistry, then I pursued a career in chemistry. For my master's, I spent a little bit of time at Wits University under Professor Neil Colville. Many people will know him. He was studying the catalytic process for converting coal, the synthetic gas that comes from coal, into liquid fuels. So I studied under him, but before I could finish my master's degree, I was offered a scholarship, fully paid up scholarship, to study in one of the most prestigious science universities in the world, Imperial College. Imperial College is a college that focuses on science and engineering only in the UK. So I did my PhD there.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I mean, spending time in London, that would have in itself been an amazing experience. What made you come back? Because I think there's an appeal when you're that side that, okay, I'm now I can almost forget what's happening back home. What made you then come back to South Africa? Was it because the end of the program? Did you consider, in fact, maybe my question is, have you ever considered then not working in South Africa because you've had that international studying opportunity?
Actually, all the time when I was in England in that 4 years, in my mind, it was always about how will I apply this when I get back to South Africa. Not once did I think, how am I going to make a career here? It was always about how does this apply in South Africa? And I was fortunate enough that after lecturing for 7 years, an opportunity came up in the energy sector. So I never set out to be in the energy sector, no. At the time, it was about the world was clear on the technologies that we're going to use to green our electricity generation. So we're going to move away from using coal and diesel particularly, and crude oil to generate electricity. We're now going to use solar, we're going to use wind. So the pathway to a greener electricity future was clear, was becoming clear. And the government of the Republic of South Africa now started grappling with what are we going to do about liquid fuels? And therein comes the chemistry link. So I actually joined the energy sector to bring my chemistry background on that, the behavior of molecules to that biofuel world, to say, if we are thinking of introducing biofuels, these are the things that we've got to be careful about. So that's why I joined the energy sector, not by design. I can't sit here and say, I looked back and I said, no, let me do a PhD in chemistry so that I can join the energy sector. No, I did a PhD in chemistry because the world is largely uses chemistry in one way or another. So I thought, no, I'll find a career. And then as after lecturing for 7 years, as I said, an opportunity came up which spoke to exactly the skills that I had, the technical knowledge that I had. And that's how I joined the energy sector. So for a very long time, I was actually doing biofuels in my life.
It's quite, but I mean, your CV, I mean, you've literally, like, it's a bit of a map of the energy sector in itself, having been in different roles and in different places. How would you, if you had to tell the story in different chapters and say, what were the different twists and turns on your journey then from entering the sector, you know, using your chemistry background to now getting to the place where now you sit in the funder's chair?
It's been, I think, a journey which I'm always grateful for, because there've been opportunities, and also I've been given opportunities which I don't even think I deserved. And that's why as a leader, I'm always consciously looking for the people that are hardworking, the people that want to contribute. And I ask myself, how do I give this person an opportunity? Because someone gave me an opportunity as well. So I'm doing that biofuels thing. I'm looking at developing biofuels projects. And secondly, as a scientist, I'd also capacitated myself with the business dynamics. So after the 7 years of lecturing, I then did my MBA, just so that I could understand the business world. And again, that was not targeted at the energy sector. It was about, yes, chemistry is how the world is made up, but there is money that must be made. There are institutions that must be run. And I started to be curious about that side of the world. Hence, I did my MBA, and I did it full-time, actually, at the Wits Business School. And so when I came out and this opportunity in biofuels came up, it already found me capacitated with business skills. And part of that is your financial skills. And here is where someone gave me an opportunity. I'm sure she's going to kill me for mentioning her today, but I need to. So I was working on this biofuels project, And then there was also a biomass to electricity project that was being developed in the company I worked for at that time, which is the SEF group of companies. And our then chairman, the project was not going well. Our then chairman of the board was Ms. Busi Mabuza, who is now a board member at the IDC. And as we were presenting to the board and talking about the difficulty in this project and so on, she literally made the comment that this young lady seems to be so careful and seems to have a steady hand in developing this biofuels project. Maybe we should give her an opportunity to participate in this biomass to electricity. So I was introduced to the electricity world simply because of the work we were doing in biofuels, and maybe I dare say the excellent results we're demonstrating. So then we're given an opportunity to participate in an electricity generation project. So that is the one opportunity that was afforded to me, not because of my technical background, but more because of the work ethic that I was displaying in the workplace. And I think that's why she made that suggestion. Secondly, then she made a suggestion to a management leadership that was also willing to give young people a chance. So I was given that opportunity to not only be in the liquid fuels, but also be in electricity generation. And I'm forever grateful for that. Also, the third thing I think that has contributed to this career that I've immensely enjoyed is because the SEF group of companies itself has got the mandate to be in all these energy careers. So the SEF Act starts by saying the SEF group shall use coal to ensure security of energy supply in the country. It will exploit and it will look for oil and gas. And then somewhere it says it must also start looking for cleaner and alternative energy sources. So within the SEF group of companies where I was employed, all the energy technologies were there. And we had a leadership, Thokozile, that allowed us to shadow people and to start to be slowly introduced to the other energy careers. Ultimately, I exited the group when I was a chief executive of the regulator for oil and gas. So that's why I'm comfortable in the energy sector, talking about liquid fuels, talking about electricity, talking about oil and gas, talking about the upstream side, talking about the midstream, talking about how do you then finally process these products and you distribute them to the market. So it is that environment that allowed me to then have the career that I've had.
Can you, I mean, you speak about the SAFE group of companies, the Central Energy Fund. Can you maybe just explain what that is for young people, and in order for them maybe post this episode to say, actually, let me go see what the opportunities could be for me now?
So the SAFE group of companies is the third, if I'm not mistaken, the third biggest state-owned enterprise in the country after Eskom Transnet. I think then you have the SAFE group of companies. It has a critical role to play in our country. It has to support the national government to ensure security of energy supply. That's why the mandate of the SAFE group of companies is in all the energy carriers, because its mandate and its core responsibilities to ensure security of energy supply. And that energy supply is electricity. That energy supply is liquid fuels, it's diesel, it's petrol, it's aviation fuel. That security of energy supply is gas. So there are different energy carriers. Energy is not just electricity. Electricity is a part of energy. So it's very important for young people to know that when we talk energy, we're not confining them to just electricity generation. And when we say as a country we are transitioning, we are not just transitioning in terms of our electricity generation. We need to transition as well in terms of our liquid fuels. You know, how are we going to ensure that we've got a cleaner transport system that could come through electrification? That's one way. But we have not yet found a way of electrifying our aircrafts. So, so we need greener
Mm.
aviation fuel, aviation fuel that has low carbon intensity. The SAF group of companies, its role is quite strategic for the country because that's where all these energy carriers come together. Your electricity, your gas, your oil, it all comes together in the SAF group of companies. I really was fortunate to work for them because then that's what allowed me to understand the whole energy system in the country.
So definitely a company that a young person should be trying to understand. And because I think even just in your explanation, as I'm listening, I'm like, those are so many careers, like
Precisely.
cutting across so many. I mean, fertilizers, from fertilizers to cars, like that's how wide we can go.
And I'm sure you've seen that the first concern with the Iran-US conflict currently and the high oil prices, the first concern we have as South Africans is obviously our fuel costs, right? Because it's impacting our petrol, diesel price. The second concern we had, which might overtake the first one, is really the cost to the agricultural activities. So the input costs are rising, and that's purely because of this nexus between natural gas and fertilizer. So not only is that Strait of Hormuz closing up crude oil supply, it's also closing up petrochemicals. And one of those is fertilizer, believe it or not. So fertilizer costs are going up. So we'll have higher input costs. So we might see food inflation starting to tick up. So energy is not just energy. Energy doesn't just power the economy, it powers you as a human being because your food comes from the energy byproducts.
A quick pause. If Energy Conversations is helping you make sense of this sector, please subscribe. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we'd love to get there by the end of the year. Every subscription grows our ability to translate this very complex sector and give more people from the outside a voice inside. Now back to the conversation. I want to come back to a moment, right?
Okay.
So you became CEO. You became a chief executive officer of and leading South Africa's upstream and oil and gas regulator, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what does that phone call feel like? Or what does that, is it an email, or I don't know how you got it, but like in that moment and you're getting that call, they're saying, okay, Phindile, now's your opportunity. Like what did that moment and that phone call feel like? And what did you discover about yourself in that role and in that experience?
Actually, maybe the phone call, what's more interesting is not the phone call and my reaction to it, it's the build up to it, Thokozile, because as I said, I'd been involved in 2 or 3 roles within the SAF group of companies. And one of the best roles that the group afforded me, and I'll forever be grateful to the SAF group of companies, one of the key roles they afforded me was to be head of strategy. And when you're head of strategy, you have to understand how all the entities within the group work. How do the people that are mining coal, so there is a coal mining company within the SAF group, how do they work? What are their targets? What are the issues they face? You have to understand them because you're head of strategy. And how will they come out of that and be more profitable? You have to understand how the refinery is functioning and what are the challenges there in the refinery and how are those challenges going to be resolved. So I understood the upstream, what they're going through as they extract the gas from Mosa Bay, what happens when it gets to the refinery. I had to understand the transportation of gas from Mozambique. So the only natural gas we use currently as a country actually comes all the way from Mozambique through an 875-kilometer pipeline that's partly owned by the SAF group of companies. What are the issues when you transport gas across 2 countries, and who are the customers, and how is that priced? So I got to understand all that as the head of strategy of the group. And then one of the criticisms that I always raised, or maybe let me put it differently, one of the concerns that I always raised at the board, at the SAF group board, was to say that I'm concerned that as a country, we're well endowed with oil and gas, but we're not extracting it. And the response of the then chairman was always, Phindi, set them the right targets so that they can bring in the investors that can exploit this oil and gas. And in every feedback I had with the board, I keep saying, I'm concerned about that we're not taking advantage of our oil and gas endowment. So when the role of the CEO of the regulator, who's responsible for attracting these investors to our oil and gas upstream industry, became vacant, then the chairman challenged me and said, you are always concerned about us not tapping into this natural endowment that we have as a country. Maybe it's time for you to go there and show us what is it that you're complaining about. Go and walk this talk that you are all about. and therefore, I took up the challenge and I applied for the role. Thank God I got it. And so when they told me, I thought, this is a big opportunity for me to really implement what I think is strategic to the country, and for me to have a go at providing my natural leadership skills to this entity, which I think is strategic for the country, because the Petroleum Agency of South Africa, PASA, is responsible for going out there and telling the world that we are well endowed with oil and gas. One of the things that South Africans may not know, as we are all envious of what's happening in Namibia, is that Namibia's discoveries are in what we call the Orange Basin. That same oil and gas rock that is sparing Namibia's economy on, that's making Namibia the envy of the world. What South Africans may not know is that 60% of it is actually on the South African side. So we did a lot of work with the team at PASA, going out there, bringing to the attention of the leadership of this country that we are actually endowed with oil and gas. And all we need is to make sure that we've got the policy and the regulatory framework that supports investments in such an important sector. So for me, Thokozile, that was when I received that call. It was that thing of, you know, that saying that you will always get what you wish for. One day you'll get what you wish for. That became true that day, to say, here I was criticizing an entity. And then the opportunity was given to me to say, listen, you've always been critical of this entity. Maybe it's time for you to go and lead and show us what is it that you're talking about. So yeah, so I had to respond to that. So
sure, like it's, and I want to go back to what you started by saying, God is kind. Because God is kind, God is good. He will put you in the space, and you know, our steps are really truly ordered. We don't see it at the time, like listening to it, you know, even every bit of your journey, capacitating yourself, doing all of this stuff, like it prepares you for the room you'll eventually get into.
Precisely.
But what's important is, what I also gathered from it, is that you have to do the work. You must do great work. You must be, always, my favorite thing is saying to the team as safe hands. Like, you have to be safe hands. I remember and it's a lesson I learned in my own career as a junior lawyer, where the guys were like, you have to be safe hands, that I must know that if I've left it in your hands,
Precisely.
I relax.
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about the document anymore. And that's all I worked my entire career was just meeting, I must be safe hands. That when it comes from me, it doesn't even need a further review.
I'll steal that.
You're gonna click and say safe hands.
I'll steal that.
Be safe hands.
Let this hands be safe hands.
Because there's a way, you know, there's a way, and I felt it later. There's a way, you know, when you've put work in someone's hands, where you even forget about it as a leader, because you're like, that one, Shem, I know I'm gonna be okay, you know. And then there's people where you've put it in their hands, and you're like,
and please follow up. Please remind them before the deadline comes.
Yes, because you're just like, I'm not sure. You know, so I think it's so quite. I want to talk more about that season of PASA, because it seems like, you know, it's the central point. I mean, Phindile, you're going on about gas, like your passion for it all is still so pure. Tell us about those years. Tell us about that work. What was so exciting about it that even now you are still very much a very strong gas advocate? Like, what happened in those years? What were you guys doing?
So first, I think it was very, very enlightening to me to realize how well endowed we are as a country with oil and gas. PASA has got the best petroleum engineers, the best geologists, the best geoscientists, who have spent so much time studying our geology, because this oil and gas comes from certain rocks. So they are called petroleum producing rocks. So they know, they've mapped the country, they've identified where these pockets of oil and gas lie. So I think for me, I'm still amazed at how much knowledge is in that organization. But I set myself the role as a leader to say, I must package this information, one, for the investor community, but two, for our leaders in South Africa, so that they know how much oil and gas we have. I think my biggest achievement was converting or convincing or adding to Minister Mantashe's conviction that we can become an oil and gas producing province as South Africa. Currently, we're not even exploring much of our oil and gas deposits. We are stuck in courts because some people do not believe that technology has moved on such that you can exploit and you can extract this oil and gas while minimizing the impact to the environment. And Thokozile, this is possible in 2026. You're seeing Norway doing this and doing it cleaner and cleaner every day and minimizing the impact to the environment. So maybe in a nutshell, my role there was really to elevate the conversation, to put to the public domain the amount of endowments that we have. Thirdly, it was just to ask the team to focus their attention, or maybe to grow a little bit more attention on promoting South Africa as an investment destination than on regulating the industry, because the act that regulates the Petroleum Agency SA starts by saying that the agency will be responsible for promoting the prospectivity of the country. So we've got high prospectivity when it comes to gas, and it's the role of that entity to promote it. Then once you have the investors settling into the country, then your role as a regulator then is to ensure that they comply with all our legislation, more specifically the environmental legislation, that you minimize the impact of your activities in the country. So I thought the organization, as I looked at it from far, they were very focused on the regulation side, but not focused on the promotion side. So my role really was to come in and balance those two roles that they had, and also take the information that was there to the key stakeholders. And I think I did that in the 3.5 years that I was there.
Sure. I mean, and what do you do after being CEO? I guess you eventually find your way to, I mean, maybe share your journey then post having left from that role. I think you went on to join Sasol, and then now the DBSA.
My love of projects and developing a project from scratch to seeing it being financed, to seeing it being implemented, to seeing it being built, came back, you know. And even when I took up the role at PASA, I always said, you know, I'm not a petroleum person, so I'm just there for this strategic initiatives that I wanted, i.e. to bring that balance up between promotion as well as regulation. And I think I did a decent job.
Fantastic was the word you were going to use, and we're going to go with fantastic job.
I think I did a job on that. And as I said, the part of project development, the part of putting things together, I started to remember that. I started to what's the word? I started to miss that, and therefore I went to Sasol. And fortunately, the opportunity at the DBSA also came up. And for me, the DBSA opportunity, I thought, again, God is being kind, because right now, not only am I doing single projects, bespoke projects, I'm doing programs. So, for example, what's keeping me busy these days is our transport projects, where we're looking at how do we, as South Africa, revitalize our rail and ports infrastructure so that it can support our economic recovery. So we're looking at the rail, structuring it so that we can attract funding to address that backlog maintenance. Then importantly, Thokozile, bring private sector to help us to modernize and to expand this strategic infrastructure for the country. And I'm really, really enjoying that. So I wanted to go back to projects and programs.
Sounds like you're the perfect person for this job. I think there's just so much wealth of knowledge. And again, it's the order of this, like how your steps really get ordered. Because I mean, everything that you've spoken about it's passion led. Like it's almost like you spoke these things into existence, you know, even as you describe what you like doing. If one then goes and looks at your job description, it's like, oh, would you look at that? I think there's really power in do you think it comes from speaking things into life, or is it, what would you say it is, that how do you get to actually doing the thing you say you want to do?
And this is the one thing that I know for sure. If there's one thing I know for sure, Thokozile, it's that these things come from being honest with myself. I'll never do something that I do not like. I'll never, ever. I think work is one way where I express the meaning of life. So I'll never, ever take up a role where I am not passionate about what I'm doing, where every morning feels like a drag. No. For me, it's about, if I do something, if I find that this is not really, I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, I am honest enough to go to my leadership and say, please help me, I'm battling with this. And as I said, I had a work environment at the SEF group of companies where they allowed me to do that, where I could say, I think I've put my best here, can I please be released to tackle something else? And an opportunity would come, and I would be asked, are you passionate about that? But here's the part. While I'm waiting, if there was any time in my career where I'm doing something that I really, really am not passionate about, or I'm struggling with, that piece of work in that time was still in safe hands. While I was waiting to get an opportunity to do what I'm passionate about, I was not waiting. I would apply my full self. I would not allow my work ethic to drop in any manner. I would still add value, but I would still be honest enough to say, I'm now looking for the next challenge, or where I can apply my skills. And I think it's that honesty and that making sure that I still deliver work that has afforded me opportunities, other opportunities, in addition to where I was. So when this role came up at the DBSA, I was so excited. Literally, I read the job description. I said, that's me who must do that job. You know, and part of the reason that I could get that role is because my reputation of my work, of my high work ethic, my reputation that I have safe hands when it comes to job, I think it went before me. So it was not so much, and I think to come to that side about speaking things, it was just God being kind, looking at how diligent I am, looking at how much I've applied myself, and him saying, you know what, I'll give you another opportunity to do what you like, and I really love what I'm doing.
Oh, that sounds so amazing. So I have to touch on this, right? Because I mean, the reality is you've rose in a sector that's overwhelmingly male dominated. Like, I think I still get shocked at conferences sometimes. I mean, we were at AF and I'm like, how are there so many guys? Like, how? Like, overwhelmingly so, right? At every level.
Yeah.
What do you think it took? Like, I mean, being a woman, a Black woman in the sector, like, how did you conquer that space? And what advice would you give to a young woman who's saying, ugh, I don't know if I could fit here because like no one really looks like me, or there's not a lot. I don't know what pulled you through.
So I think we did have some role models, and I think that while the sector continues to be male dominated, I think young girls now do have role models. Honestly, they have enough. As I said, when I was in middle management, maybe even lower at the safe group of companies, the whole board was being chaired by one Busi Mabuza, you know, so she was like, oh, that lady, you know, and she could do it. So for young people, it's really about believing in themselves and doing what they want to do when they're young. The challenge I'm finding, Thokozile, is still at a time when a young woman is now growing up to start a family. That I think is where we get trapped, honestly. I think what's tripping us and what's trapping us, it's that motherhood layer, or that time when you've got young children that you're bringing up, yet you've got this work that you must do. You are developing this power plant in the Northern Cape, and you must still travel there and meet investors and meet service providers who are doing your environmental impact assessment. You must meet the engineers. You must have long calls with financiers, and yet you must continue to be a mother. And unfortunately, the world and society has brought us up to think we should be the primary parent, you know, more than our partner. So it's the woman that whose career gets impacted, because when you are thinking about children, you are thinking about homework. Even homework, believe it or not, is left to a mother more than a father somehow in our society. And I think that's what the generation of today has to overcome. How did I make it? One, if you ask my son, he will tell you how many times he was not collected on time from school.
Oh,
so I did make my own mistakes. But I think secondly and importantly, I was fortunate that my then husband was interested in investing in my career. So when he started seeing me drop the ball at home, instead of criticizing me and telling me that I'm not a good wife and I'm not a good mother, and he himself, by the way, was a mover and a shaker in the energy industry, surprisingly. He's accomplished himself in the energy industry. He didn't allow motherhood to stop me achieving what I wanted to do. So he created an enabling environment at home. Practical example, he bought a small car, a nice, safe, small car, to transport the children. So that day, when I forgot to pick up our son from school, I came home. I did not find an angry husband. I found a husband who said, you know what, your career is taking off. If you can be so absorbed at work that you forget you're a mother, maybe it's time to find someone to assist your motherhood. So now we'll have a driver who's going to pick up the children from school, who's going to do your groceries. He also made sure that we've got well-trained a helper at home who can cook the good meals that I used to cook, because I used to be a good cook. So he said, you know, I'm not going to allow your responsibilities as a mother to stop your career. So maybe my plea, and of course, then unfortunately we did divorce, but after that, I then realized that it is this support system which allows my career to flourish. So my mother is a key support system. My sister, importantly, may her soul continue to rest in peace. She literally mothered my children. So I think I had a supporting structure that actually allowed me to do what I wanted to do in my career, and never, ever, ever judged me for not mothering my children. Earlier on, I spoke about God being kind. I remember that one day I was developing that biofuels project I was talking about. It was in the Eastern Cape. We were looking at using sugar beet to ferment sugar beet and make bioethanol, which you can blend with petrol and put in cars. So that was the project. There's a huge agricultural side of that, which is the sugar beet growing. Then there's the huge biorefinery side where the sugar beet will come in. You can imagine how complex the agreements are there, from the agriculture to the refinery, believe it or not, to selling that bioethanol to the downstream market.
Sure.
So I'm looking at that whole transaction, and I'm the lead of that project. So I'm trying to find time in my diary, and the partner at one of the ENS, actually it was the legal firm that was assisting us with that, was ENS. And the partner, we could just never find time in our diaries to talk about the transaction. So guess what? The best time became 7 a.m. in the morning, where he would advise me, okay, I've reviewed this agreement, this is where you are. And that was the time to take my son to school. So I ended up with my son on a call conference, on a car speaker, and we're talking about this transaction. I remember one person at that time saying to me, but that is such an important time for you to be a mother to your son. And instead you are using that such a precious moment. You are using that to work. Phindile, I don't think you are balancing this thing of motherhood and being an energy expert correctly, because that's a precious time that you should be talking to your son. I felt really, really bad for some time after that. But practically there was nothing I could do. So I continued working in that arrangement. And of course, I could see my son on weekends. So that guilt-tripping comment quickly passed, fortunately for me. And I continued working like that in that transaction. I said, God is kind. Years later, my son had to choose a career. And he said to me, Mom, the best thing I know, where I've seen you in your elements, is you talking about that transaction in the car. Those were the best days in my life. I wanted to know, what are you and the lawyer going to talk about today? Is it the agricultural supply? Is it the... He was naming the value chain as it is. And then that year, my son participated in the CFO competition on the JSE. It's run by the JSE. He was at Crawford College. And he said, I want to participate here because I want to sit in that seat like you were sitting when you were negotiating that agreement. To this day, my son says those were the best days of his life. So we think that mothering is staying home, cooking and doing that. But it's actually maybe our sons watching us do these projects. And maybe when we do these projects, we're not absent from mothering. You know, maybe we are present. The only thing I discuss now with my son is work, it's the economy, it's this and this. And let me proudly say that he's qualified as an actuary.
Oh.
You know, and he tells everyone that comes from my mother. I just saw my mother working, and the work ethic I have from my son. Of course, let me also allow me to brag about my daughter.
Of course.
She's a CA.
Oh,
so
okay.
There we go. So my obsession with work hasn't stopped me from being a good mother.
Oh, I don't. This is, I mean, more than I expected. Way more. I mean, I am being ministered to myself in this moment. Like I think, and I like the point you're making about motherhood and the choices. And I've seen so many women like getting pulled in so many different directions, and the mom guilt, and then the guilt that you're not there. And I think the point is there's no such thing as balance, so to speak. You just have to be fully present in the thing you need to be present for. And perhaps the greatest gift, you know, you can give your child is an ambitious mom, so that they can see that the world can, you know. And I think for me, I mean, I love how even the story about the support structure, and that, you know, having the right support structure in place, and I think the right partner, the decision of who you decide to have children with
that's critical.
As a woman is probably the most, you know, never mind, not even the decision of who will be the father of your kids is probably
the most important thing.
I mean, as you know, the currently the tender's out now to determine who will be the father. You'll get there. But, and for me, it's that, like, I'm building a business, I'm doing the most, and I would need a partner who's going to not put me in a position that I'm going to feel like my guy, like who's going to recognize and probably have fallen in love with that this is all of me, and this is, oh my God, I'm so happy that she gets to, and in his mind then says, no, but then we're going to just create the space for you to be able to do both,
for a thriving career and a thriving motherhood. So I think my advice then in concluding this part to young people is that the role models are there now. I think we have people that we've seen succeed, but importantly choose the right partner and create a system, a support structure that will not hold your career back during the times, particularly when your children are young. Don't let that be a time that disadvantage, because unfortunately we cannot delegate the pregnancy period to men. So that pregnancy, that nurturing at a young age, unfortunately you have to do it, but don't let that hold back your career. It didn't hold my career. And then as you grow, try and have that balance that, by the way, everyone must do homework. It's not just you. So once the children are 3, 4, 5 and above, bring in your partner, and that's why you've got to have had the right partner. Otherwise, all that is going to fall on you and is going to hold your career back.
Oh, thank you for beautifully role modeling that, and setting a standard and making it less daunting. I think we'll get there. It's going to happen. I can do it now. And Phindile, just to close off the conversation, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to a young person right now? Or if you were speaking to younger you, what is the one message that you'd want to leave young people with?
The message that I really, really want to leave with young people is God is kind. God has given you natural talent, skills that you unfortunately must work on and mature out. And there'll always be a reward for a high work ethic. Trust God. And the reason I brought in his kindness is because he will give you those opportunities. It might not look at, when you look at it going forward, and I think it was Steve Jobs who said so, you're trying to look for a path. You may not see it, but those opportunities will come. And as each opportunity comes, make the best of it, because it will lead to the next opportunity, and the next opportunity will lead to the next opportunity. So I just pray that you will have these opportunities come in your way, but on your part, there's a certain unique combination of skills, personality, and that you are each given. And it's for you then to mature that. It's for you to work that out. And as the opportunities come, you just take advantage of each one of them and make the best. And when you make the best of an opportunity, Thokozile earlier on said, when your hands are known to be safe hands at work, trust me, the next opportunity will come up. And that's where this whole thing about God being kind comes in. It only comes in availing the opportunity. But you have to have the discipline to work out your talents. You've got to have the discipline to focus on academia and get the qualifications. You've got to have the discipline of making sure that whatever you're doing it at your best, and then trust the universe and God to give you the opportunity.
Amen and amen to that. I love the Steve Jobs, because I think it's in his book, Think Different, that the dots don't connect
forward.
They will connect, they connect backwards. Yeah. It's only at the end where you'll see it. I never set out
to be an NH, I'm honest. I never did a PhD so that I could do biofuels. Never. So anyway, the first person said it to me, I was like, what? And then I says, where do you see me fitting in here? They had to explain to me that, by the way, there's a chemical reaction here. We want to know how will it push out the vapor pressure? How will it put to the viscosity? How will it? I said, oh my God, that I know.
And there you're aligned. When preparation meets opportunity.
Now we have to rewind and you have to put that in.
It's definitely in. Okay. When preparation meets opportunity, definitely.
Exactly. Yes. So it's that preparation. So when I say work on the talent, work on your academic training, because then one day that preparation will meet opportunity, and leave the opportunity to the universe, and leave the opportunity to turn up to God. Because when your academic qualifications are in place, when your work ethic is there, when you've worked on your personality, because how do you show up to people? That you must work on that. You must ask yourself, how am I showing up? How am I affecting the next person? How do I interact with the next person? Am I not rude? Am I not coming across as too soft? Am I not always too complaining too much? Am I proactively warning other team members when I have something coming up to say, guys, I'm doing this share of this assignment. However, on this day, I'm not. Are you a team player? Those are things that young people must work at. Work at your academic training, work at your personality, work at your work ethic. All that preparation, trust me, will never be in vain. It can never be.
Can never
be in vain. All that preparation can never be in vain.
Phindile, we could probably continue forever. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation, from the chemistry lab to the Development Bank of Southern Africa. I think this is proof that there is no one single door, no one single entry point to it, and that everything is really in your hands. It's really in your hands, and that in I think closing it off, it's really when preparation meets opportunity. So for young people, I think it's a beautiful lesson in that just be prepared. Just continue to take, while you're waiting, just be preparing yourself. Something is coming. The thing you say you want to do, what are you doing today that will put you in a better position to actually be able to get that opportunity? And that brings us to the end of this installment of Energy Conversations. And if this is a conversation you enjoyed, please do like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, let's continue to have these conversations. I'm Phindile Masangane. This is Energy Conversations. Until next time, let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you for listening to Energy Conversations, powered by Ghani Development Solutions and the African Energy Leadership Center at the Wits Business School.